Israelite worship consisted of these concentric circles of access. So right in the very heart of the temple was the Holy of Holies. Only the high priest could enter that place once a year. That's where the presence of God was. Just outside of that was where the priests did their ministry. So all of the sacrifices happened. The priests could go in. They were holy. They had the tongs of the altar and the bowls and everything that they used for the incense and the sacrifice. And only the priests could go there. You go one ring out and the Jewish men would come into this inner circle to worship. One ring out from that was the Jewish women and then the Gentiles. There were many foreigners that would come from far and wide to get a glimpse of the God of Israel. They were curious about the God of Israel, but they weren't fully Jewish, and they could come and worship God, but only at a distance. And so the Gentiles would come in. They actually had a technical name for it. They called them God-fearers. And these Gentiles who wanted to worship the God of Israel, but they were kept at a distance. So those kind of concentric rings from priests all the way out to the nations is really helpful. And the key observation here is that that marketplace was right in the Gentile court. Now, the merchants selling the sheep and the goats and the doves, on one level, they were doing a good thing. This wasn't wholly bad. People would be coming from far and wide, and one of the main ways that you worshiped in the Israelite religion was by offering sacrifices. Well, if I was taking my family on a trip to Jerusalem from 200 miles away, I'm not going to bring all of my flocks and herds with me. I can just go to the city, find the merchants, buy the animal, and then go and worship. And so on one level, they're doing a good thing. They're facilitating the worship for Israel. But I think the main problem for Jesus that day is that they have set up their booths right in the Gentile court. So now the nations, they're coming to get a glimpse of the God of Israel. And instead of entering into worship, they've found themselves in a bazaar, in a marketplace. And so it's the marketplace that is now a distraction for them being able to actually meet with God. I think that's the main problem that day. If the merchants were down on the street outside of the temple, maybe it wouldn't have been as big a deal. But they've turned something that was good. They're helping to facilitate the worship of Israel, but they've put it right smack dab where all of the foreigners are now being distracted. They can't actually see God because of the marketplace. And so Jesus comes in and says, this has to go. Got to clear away these distractions because I'm opening up my blessings to the nations. I want the nations not to be distracted, but to actually come and meet with God. And so he stops the sacrifices that day. Now, there are two really important Old Testament passages that help shed even more light here. The first one, speaking about those merchants, is the book of Zechariah. Right at the very end of the prophet Zechariah, God gives this great prophecy looking forward to the future. The context here, he's talking about the fullness of the kingdom of God coming. And he says this, every pot in Jerusalem and in Judah will be holy to the Lord of heavenly forces. All those who sacrifice will come. They will take some of the pots and cook with them. There will be no longer any merchants in the house of the Lord of heavenly forces on that day. So getting through some of these details, the image here is the temple itself was holy. That's where the priests did their ministry. None of the normal Israelites could go into that holy place. And there were all of these instruments, pots and tongs for the sacrifice and for the incense. And those were holy. The cereal bowl that I give to my kid in the morning, that's not holy. That's just ordinary use. But the bowl that's in the middle of the temple, that's really holy. God here is saying there's going to come a day where it's not just going to be the temple that's holy. The entire country of Judah is going to be holy to the Lord. Every pot that you have in your house could be a way of facilitating the worship of God. It actually points to this incredible promise that starts at the very beginning of the nation of Israel. God said in the book of Exodus that the entire nation was going to be a kingdom of priests. God's plan was that all of Israel would be the conduit of God's grace for all of the nations. All of Israel were to be the priests for the rest of the nations to come and have a mediator between God and humanity. It was only because of Israel's weakness and sin that he kind of accommodated. And he said, okay, well, the one tribe, the Levites, they're going to be the priests for Israel. But God's original plan was that the entire nation would be the priests for the entire world. And so here at the end of Zechariah, God, I think, is pointing forward to that day. He says, my original plan was not that you had priests and the rest of you but that all of you would be my priests for the whole world. This finally gets fulfilled in the book of Revelation, when through the sacrifice of Jesus, we read in Revelation 5 that all the peoples who follow the king are now the priests, this kingdom of priests to our God. So Jesus is coming in, and again, it's not the full fulfillment, because this is still the beginning. He hasn't died, he hasn't risen, but symbolically, he's saying that's what I'm initiating right here. What I'm doing today is pointing forward to the great act that Jesus is about to do that will make all of the followers of God the priests of God. All of the nation of Israel will be holy unto the Lord. And so he kicks out the merchants, I think as a direct callback to Zechariah 14.